the success of a business is often about what happens up here rather than what you do on your computer. So I'm going to get into this straight away, sharing 7 very important lessons that helped me to surpass $10 million in revenue for my business. And why not have a little change of scenery for this video? So let's jump into it. Number 1 is going to be efficiency. Now, I cannot stress enough, as you've probably seen in my last few videos, AI is on the rise, it's everywhere, we all know that. And if you aren't using AI in any sort of capacity in your business, then chances are you're going to fall behind, and you're going to fall behind very quickly as well. Just to put this into perspective, this time last year I really wasn't using AI at all in my businesses, but now it is allowing me to generate hundreds of ads every week for my companies. It has basically supercharged my growth and allowed me to scale my companies to upwards of $400,000 a month in revenue at the moment, and we're not even in Q4 yet. So just to give you a couple of examples about how I'm using it and how you can as well. Obviously, ChatGPT, probably the most popular AI tool that you can use in a number of ways. I use this mainly for translating my stores into different languages when I'm ready to launch in a new market. And ChatGPT is now linked with a ton of translation apps on Shopify. So a few years ago, you'd have to manually translate every product, every page on your store. Whereas now, through the power of AI, you can literally translate an entire store in about 2 minutes with one single click. So that's one way I'm using it. I also use ChatGPT to create SOPs for my customer service agents, which again saves me a ton of time rather than sitting down and basically hashing out tons of questions and answers from my customer service reps. ChatGPT literally writes it all for me. And again, the key here is to save yourself a lot of time. After all, time is money. So if you can buy back your time by using AI, then you're ahead of most people who aren't even doing that. As I've shown in my last couple of videos, I use AI heavily for my creative process. I use a variety of image AI tools to improve product images. I then use video AI tools to turn those product images into video ads. And like I said, hundreds of creatives a week, so many more winning ads than usual, and business is just incredibly good. And I can't stress enough that AI really is to thank for that. Now, number 2 is something a lot of people talk about, and you can experience this firsthand, and you probably have experienced this firsthand, and that is not to take advice from people that don't know what they're talking about or have never achieved what they're giving advice on. Prime example, don't take business advice from a lecturer at a university who's never ran or owned a successful business. Same goes with family members that perhaps will try and steer you in certain directions with your companies or your businesses. If someone hasn't done it, then honestly, it sounds harsh, but just don't listen to them. And why should you? They've not done it, so why should you listen to them, basically? It sounds very harsh, like I just said, but you have to be careful of who you listen to, who you take information from. So just sort of subconsciously make sure you are listening to people that have done it, whether that's sort of specific things like Google ads or Facebook ads, or how to run a company as a whole, or hiring processes. The best advice and guidance you're going to get are from people who have actually done it. Now, number 3 is something I wish I'd done 3 years before I did, and that is to not doubt myself. The amount of times I perhaps was making a Facebook ad or adding a new product to my website and simply just stopped halfway through because I kept telling myself, actually, this isn't going to work, it's a rubbish product, or this is a rubbish ad, and I never got round to even launching the product or ad. I learned to tell myself, what is the worst thing that's going to happen here? You might spend a bit of money on the ads, get no sales, that's not a problem. That is a lesson learned. And by not following through with these things, you could be leaving money on the table, you could be missing out on your next winning product, scaling your business even further. So if you ever have that sort of thing in your head that's telling you, okay, this isn't going to work, why am I bothering? This is terrible. Just push it to one side, complete the task you're doing, whether it is adding a product, launching a new ad, etc. Just do it. Like I said, what is the worst that can happen? And once I started telling myself that, that's when the business really started to take off. It was very stagnant. Around 2020 to 2022, it's very stable, but it wasn't growing. And once I started pushing past that barrier, that is when I saw huge growth for my business. 2023, we did over $5 million in a single year. Black Friday and the day after Black Friday, we did 45K a day on each of those 2 days, so $90,000 in sales in 2 days. And like I said, if I started telling myself that in 2018, we could be miles ahead, but you live and you learn. It's better late than never. And like I said at the start, to run a successful business, it's not always about what you do on your computer or your laptop. It's a lot about what goes on up here. Now, number 4, very straightforward, and that is to spend more money. And that could be on marketing, hiring, AI, software, anything like that. If you're investing in all of these areas and starting to spend more, you might think you're throwing money away and wasting money, but if you're investing in the best AI tools, the best team members, and you're not afraid to up your budgets on your marketing, then that again is when you're going to notice massive growth. I mean, back in the day, even when an ad was doing very well, I would always stop myself from scaling it too far because I was simply sort of stressing and having severe anxiety about, okay, I can't up my budgets to £500 a day because if it suddenly gets no sales, then I'm going to be broke. But that won't happen, especially if you're using target ROAS, cost caps on Facebook. You've got those performance controls in place that will prevent that from happening. So another good way to think of it is to separate your personal finances from your business's finances. This is obviously not a financial advice video, but once you get in your head that you can separate those two, you'll then have no problem spending more on ads, investing in better team members, investing in better software and processes. And that is how you grow successfully, profitably, year on year. Because if you're not changing anything and not scaling, then your business isn't going to grow, and eventually it will just decline, and then you'll be in this rut that you feel like you can never get out of. Okay, number 5 is going to be making your money work harder for you. And by this, I mean your business's money. This is not your personal money. Once you start to become profitable, you'll obviously start to build up a good amount of cash savings within your business. Now, the best thing you can do is getting that money, reinvesting it and making it work harder for you. So in my case, for example, I like to reinvest in the business. I take a percentage of my company's earnings and pay myself personally every year. But the rest of it I leave in the company because that is what it takes to grow a company. Obviously, I'm not spending the entire remaining amount of profit every year. I put some of it into, high interest accounts that earn me a good amount of money every single month, or should I say earn the business a good amount of money. So instead of just compiling cash, which is essentially losing value due to inflation, reinvest it in your business, whether that's stock, whether that's marketing, whether that's things like, training, coaching, mentorship for you personally. All of these things, they are expenses, they're tax deductible expenses for your businesses, but ultimately all of these little things and reinvestments will compound over time and benefit your business as well. And like I said a minute ago, once you do get into your head that you have your personal finances and then your business's finances, once you separate those two completely, that is when you have a complete shift in focus and you'll notice a big difference. Now, number 6, arguably the most important one of this video, and that is going to be that you cannot grow this alone. Now, back when I started in roughly 2017, up until 2021, I believe, so that first 4-year period, I did everything myself. Adding products, customer service, Facebook ads, Google ads. I did absolutely everything myself. Some days I was up till 4, 5 o'clock in the morning just working non-stop, like 19-hour days. Whereas now, fast forward, 2025, I probably work about 3 hours a day at the moment. And yes, I can work more. Some days I do work more. But if we're taking an average, that is probably how many hours a day I work. But again, that is all the previous points and this one added together. I'm offloading my tasks to people who are specialized in those areas. For example, I've got a financial executive that literally handles my supplies entirely now, making sure the invoices are correct, I'm not being overcharged, orders are being shipped on time, delivered on time, there's no tracking issues. That hire alone probably saved me 2.5 hours a day of work, and he's now been with me for 3 years and arguably the best person I've added to my team, simply because of the amount of time he's saved me, but also the amount of money he saved me in terms of negotiating with suppliers, getting better shipping rates, etc. Now, it is a huge leap. The first person I hired was simply a virtual assistant to run my customer service, and it's a big leap. It's quite daunting. I certainly felt like it was that way. It was very daunting adding a person to your team, giving them that element of trust with your business and your customers. But if you train them correctly, use ChatGPT for a bit of help if you need to. If you train them correctly, they pick it up very quickly. And now, again, I don't really ever need to communicate with them because they know what to do. They've worked with me for 3 years now. They're not expensive if you hire overseas. So again, if you're buying back your time by hiring people to do the boring tasks that you don't really need to do, customer service is not going to grow your business really. So if you can spend less time on that and more time on marketing or other areas that really do matter, and build a very, very solid team. It doesn't have to be a big team. I only have 5 people plus me, so that's not a huge team, but we do about $4 or $5 million a year in sales. And so yeah, for every $1 million, we basically have 1 employee. So that's just a bit of reference and perspective for you. Now, number 7 is going to be to not overcomplicate things. Now, it's very easy to build a complicated business over time without even realizing. So So the best thing to do is to step back, see what areas are perhaps confusing and difficult to manage. That could be things as small as your structure in your Facebook ad account. If you're running 30 different campaigns, that's just going to be impossible to manage. Data's going to be all over the place. You know, for example, one of my businesses, we have 3 active campaigns, but we're spending about $3,500 a day. So it doesn't need to be complicated. I've seen people that I've mentored over the past have sort of 25, 30 different Shopify apps connected to their store. Not only does it slow it down, it's going to add unnecessary clutter, you know, wasted money on monthly recurring bills for these apps that are usually never used. So just take a step back, see what areas of your business you can simplify, because it will only make it easier to manage in all areas. So it is just a simple one, but if your business is easier to manage, easier to analyze, that is another thing that is going to save you time. Now, just before we go, I have recently launched a WOP. It is a one-on-one private mentorship with me. Only 10 spots available, and that is going to give you access to me directly, one-on-one. You can work with me. I understand that all businesses need their own unique help, guidance, feedback, rather than sort of a generic group, which perhaps a lot of things might not apply to your business specifically. And I understand the importance of having that specific guidance and advice, because it really can make a huge difference. So if you are interested in working one-on-one with me, click the link at the top of the description. Like I said, only 10 spots available, so make sure you get in there before it's too late. But I do hope you have found this video useful. Make sure you drop a like down below, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you in the next one.